Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Life Coach Zach podcast. I'm your host, Zach Rance, certified life coach, certified nutritionist, mental health advocate, meditation master. No, not really, but thanks so much for stopping by. I hope that you guys get a ton of value from each and every single episode. I like to bring extremely powerful leaders of their industries on each and every single episode, whether it's a doctor, nutritionist, coach, leader, whatever it is. I want to make sure that not only are you guys learning, but that I'm learning. You know, at the end of the day, I'm doing this podcast not just for you guys, but I'm doing it for myself. And all these conversations that I have with every single person I just named is helping me get better, and it's helping me step into the greatest version of myself. And I just hope I can pay it forward to you guys through these deep, powerful conversations. Thanks so much for stopping by, and hope you have a wonderful day. Good energy. Welcome to the Life Coach Zach podcast. How you doing today?
Doing great. How are you?
I'm doing really well. I was going through some hashtags on Instagram and I came across your page and I fell in love with your passion for books because books have changed my life over the last 5 years. So
Yes.
I want to have a conversation with you about your journey with books.
Well, thank you so much for having me on. I'm so grateful that you found me and that you understand my love language of books and reading.
Mhm.
Um, I I think that reading is truly crucial to life. It's like, you need sleep, air, water, food, and books. So for me, actually, I was lucky enough to start reading at a very young age. My grandmother was an English teacher, so she basically would come home and have me be her like mini 3-year-old student and so we read books all the time, and I just always loved reading and felt like reading was so fundamental to life. And then, I went to college and reading just totally fell off. I think that like a lot of times when we start trying to figure out how to become an adult and a functioning member of society, we get sort of like caught up in the partying and the what are the Joneses doing, and oh, I'm going to stay up till 3 a.m. to write this essay that in reality probably only needed 2 hours. So I didn't really read much until I made that focus to read in 2017. So that's when I would say I really started to care about reading again. And I've been trying to read 100 books in a year since 2017. And I failed every year until 2020. This was the first time I managed to read that many books in a year.
That's incredible. 100 books? Wow.
Yeah, well, I did 2 a week, so technically 104.
Wow, congratulations. So what type of books are your favorite?
Yeah, so I am a little bit all over the map. I absolutely love and obsessed with, personal development and business books because to me, I don't get over the fact that a $12 book or, a free book from my library holds thousands of dollars worth of advice. Like every time I read a book that gives me a new lesson in life or a concept I've never considered before, I just am blown away that this is available for essentially nothing.
Right.
And then the other types I love is, poetry and literary fiction and memoirs. So I'm a little bit all over the map. And then, of course, like a good romance book when I like am in a bit of a slump and need something to just plow through.
Yeah, I'm pretty similar. I mean, I only read nonfiction. I've read last year, and just so you know, I read over 50 books last year. A
Okay,
lot of
right on.
personal, yeah, I read for at least 30 to 45 minutes every single morning.
That's
And
awesome.
yeah, and a lot of the books I read are on personal growth, self-development. 90% of the books I read are nonfiction. More
Hmm.
so recently, I've been reading a lot about mental health, spirituality, a lot on productivity hacks.
Yeah.
And you know what's great? These books are so powerful because I feel like every time I read a book, it opens my mind up to a new concept, a new principle that I can apply to my life that will help me either scale my happiness or my business or deepen my relationships. And just learning that one new thing takes you on a whole different journey. And I'm so grateful for some of the books that I read in 2017, which
couple of my favorites are A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle, The Untethered Soul by Michael A. Singer, were my two favorite consciousness and spirituality books. And that was the real foundation for me to continue on my path of just being really happy and getting closer to God and doing the things that fill my heart with peace and joy. And again, I'm so grateful for these books that these authors are so sharing with their wisdom, and we have the opportunity to learn from them. So
Totally.
yeah, so tell me, like, what are your top three favorite business and self-development books?
Yeah, well, so I love that you brought up those spiritual books. And I feel similarly. There's a book that I think really I look back to as a book that changed my life. And I'm actually basically through 2020, I got so close to the art of reading, I'll call it, that I decided to start writing my own book, really that focuses on the lessons I've learned from these books and puts it all into one book that I wrote, showing you how these lessons that I learned from these books really changed my life. And the first one I start with is 10% Happier, which I'm sure you've heard of.
Dan Harris.
That's the one. That book completely changed my life. So for me, when I graduated college, I went to work for a firm in Las Vegas, and I just I should have known from day one that this was not a good fit. And like, you know what I mean when you walk in a room and you're just like, this is bad for my soul. But
Mm-hmm.
I kept trying to like force myself in and make it work. And the problem when you do something like that is it spills over into every area of your life, right? You can't be so depleted in one column that, oh, but I'm still going to be, healthy and happy and vibrant and a good friend and a good daughter and a good girlfriend. Like, no, all of that goes out the window if you've got this huge poison in your life, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I was so caught up in just, oh, I have to stay for this many years. Like it has to look good on my resume before I decide to leave. And then what happened was I was reading 10% Happier on the plane. I had the free version on my phone, like the digital Kindle version. Yeah, my phone's on airplane mode. I'm probably at like 10% battery. It's 5 a.m. on a Monday, flying back to work to be in Vegas. And I read this passage I'll never forget. I think it was in his interview with Eckhart Tolle. And they're talking about how nobody lives in the present. We're always focused on waiting for something in the future to allow us to be happy. And when I read that, I fell into tears I still get emotional just thinking about this because I was so focused on waiting until I felt like it was the right time to leave. Who says what the right time is? So when I read that paragraph, I literally drafted the email right then and there to my property manager saying I'm going to terminate my lease early, and I started looking for jobs. And I found a great listing. I flew to Chicago to interview for the job. They offered me the job on the spot. And then I came out here 2 weeks later. Like everything aligned because I took what I was reading and it wasn't just, oh, I guess in one eye, out the other. I really applied it to my life. And that's how you can make these changes when you focus on the lessons you learn and building that vibration up. So
Oh, wow, what a story.
yeah, I should. That's what how you said you feel so grateful when you read. I truly feel that way. It's like I can't even express it. Like, it's like a god mom that you can talk to. And these people are like, I mean, Dan Harris, Eckhart Tolle, Glennon Doyle, like these are what gifts we have that we can listen to their stories and understand the lessons that they've already learned the hard way.
What gifts, right? Like, I really revere these people. Like Eckhart Tolle is a walking form of God on earth.
Well, aren't we all?
I mean, yes, but the way that he articulates his
Yeah.
thoughts onto paper so eloquently and so simply. I mean, a third grader could read A New Earth.
Yeah.
A third grader could read Untethered Soul, but these are books that, I think everyone and anyone should read. The
Yeah.
Untethered Soul has taught me. Have you read The Untethered Soul?
I actually have not, so I'm excited to read that after
Let
today.
me tell you something. That is it is one of the best book. I mean, it sold over 10 million copies, probably 20 million copies, I assume, but it is one of the best books I've ever read, and it's only 140 pages, and it's
Yeah.
big, it's large print, and um, anyway, I have a list of books for this year that I am working on right now, and I have every single book on top of my counter, and I look at them every single day. But I have a question for you. Is there any book that you like for me it's Untethered Soul. I think anyone and everyone in their life should read that book. Tell me a book that you think is a non-negotiable for me to read this year.
Okay, I love this question. And although it is a little bit hard because I feel like there's so many books that are, 110% to me in terms of value I gained from the book. But one book that I think changed my life the most in last year when I was reading was, and maybe you've already read it, is Atomic Habits by James Clear.
Yes. I read it twice.
Yeah, I'm about to
Incredible
reread
book.
it myself.
Yeah, incredible book. Yeah.
Yeah, so my favorite thing from that book, and I mean, I truly like every single day still try to focus on this, is the concept of motion versus action. It's so easy for us to get caught up in, oh, well, okay, let's say you want to, be healthy in the new year. So you're like, okay, well, let me Google and do some research on what type of diets I think might be a good one for me. Let me, you know what, this fitness influencer seems really like a great resource for me. I'm going to go ahead and sign up and pay for her monthly program. I'm going to watch some YouTube videos of how people over the like 3 months completely transform their body. I'm going to find recipes and go to the grocery store. But guess what? You haven't done anything. All you've done is you feel so productive. I've done all this research, but you haven't done anything. You haven't gone to the gym yet. You haven't taken a walk around the block,
You didn't pay
And
the
so
money yet.
exactly. And so I personally, I always get caught up in the motion and feeling like, God, I really accomplished a lot today. Like for my book, for example, for probably more than a year, I was like, okay, I'm outlining the book. Like this is great. But guess what? I'm not writing the book. You know what I mean? So,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the action part. If we can shift our energy and our time and our tasks from motion oriented things to actually action oriented and writing the book or going to the gym or, you know, not just making a bunch of prospect calls, but actually closing deals. That's how you're going to transform your life. So that book was really powerful for me. Another one, and I don't know if you read Untamed by Glennon Doyle?
No, but I've heard of it.
Okay, you just got to read it. Like,
Okay,
just
I'm buying it on Amazon as we speak. I'm not waiting
I
another second.
love that.
I'm
Yeah.
taking
So
the motion. Yeah, I'm taking the motion and I'm turning it into action
I
right
love
now.
that. There you go. Exactly.
Untamed by Glennon Doyle, bestseller, $15.90. Add to cart. Proceed to checkout
You got to do the one
and
click
place your
buy
order.
now.
Done. It's on the way. It's on the way.
Yay. Oh, I can't wait. That's amazing. Um, that book is just so good. She really focuses on giving yourself permission to be free. And that's the whole point of this book. First of all, Glennon Doyle has the craziest story I have ever heard. She went from being like totally rock bottom, like I don't even know, like basically, a victim of every vice out there. And then finding out she was pregnant at like 26, and it was basically like a wake up call to change your life, get closer to God. She ended up marrying the man who was the father of that kid. Like, I guess they both had like a kumbaya at the same time. They were married, like great, like like inspiring Christian type of people. That was what her first book was about. Is basically that journey of coming closer to God and inspiring others to do the same. Come to find out, the husband is cheating on her. So then in the next book, it's all about basically F that and divorcing him and being her own self. Then in the third book, Untamed, she's like, F that. She's now married to Abby. I don't remember her last name. Wambach, is it? She's like
She's an Olympian. She's a soccer player.
yeah,
Soccer player.
that's the one. Yeah. Actually, I
Yeah.
think they live in Florida, but yeah, so she's just like, totally a wild, untamed soul who just threw out any social construct. And I love her for like teaching us to do the same. So that is just a really great book for breaking out of those when you feel like you should be doing more, but you are scared to do it. This book makes you do it, which I love.
Mm. I love that. Yeah, and you know what's funny too? My friend and I, we have an Audible challenge. So I read all my books paperback. I enjoy reading. I like, I have a Kindle, but for some reason I can't get into the Kindle. I like reading paperback books, but my friend and I do an Audible challenge every single month on who can listen to the most Audible. So my goal this year is to listen to 500 hours of Audible.
Oh,
Yeah, which, a 10-hour book would be 50 books. A lot of books are under 7 hours, 8 hours.
right.
But anyway, it's funny because this month, the loser of the Audible challenge has to take the other person out to the most expensive steakhouse and then drop them off at the gym, and they have to sleep on the concrete floor
Oh my
all
God.
night. Yeah, and then wake up at 5 a.m. and the other person comes to them, which we're sleeping at the gym, and takes them through a workout. But anyway, my point is this. We always talk about how it's great to read books, it's great to learn things, but unless you apply these principles to your life, it's wasted knowledge. And that's something
Yeah.
that took me a little while to understand, is that, yeah, I'm reading a lot of books. Wait, actually, hold on. I got to cut you off. I got to cut myself off. Have you read the book, The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy?
I have not.
Non-negotiable. It is.
Okay.
It is. That is the best book I've ever read. As far as personal growth, self-development, productivity hacks, as far as just getting better and being a better person, stepping into the greatest version of yourself every single day. The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy is the GOAT. It is the best. And let me tell you something. You will be able to read this book in 4 hours. It's 150 pages. It has pictures. I mean, but anyway, the Compound Effect. So
Perfect.
my point is this. It took me a little while to actually apply a lot of these principles to my life, but when I started to do so and I built consistency around that, I started seeing the results immediately. So, learning is great, knowledge is great, wisdom is powerful, but unless you actually apply these principles to your life, nothing's going to change.
100%. And I feel that like the same exact way when I read. Like I loved Shoe Dog by Phil Knight about his story
Oh
of
my
creating
God, don't
Nike.
even get me started on that book.
Oh my God, I know. And then I was
That's the
just like in
book I read
tears.
last year.
It's amazing. Yeah. So, um, and that book, like as I was reading it, I was like, like in awe of what he's built and just who he is as a person. But I thought to
Crying.
myself, like, I don't want to just sit here constantly reading about these incredible entrepreneurs who build things that we've never seen before. Like, I gotta freaking do this one day. You know what I mean? So
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
I love that book. Actually, a book that just came out, and I'll tell you this because it's the sweetest story ever, and I feel like it explains exactly like my relationship with my grandma. She's still like my best friend, the one that taught me to read. So she's like 84. She's been like obviously socially isolated this whole time. Like she sees some of her friends, which is great, but she's just like in her hometown. She moved back to a little town on the east side of the state of Washington, like I don't know, maybe 10 years ago. And it's funny because it's like her and all her old high school friends like still hang out. But so she's like chilling in Clarkston, Washington, and she just all she does is like read amazing books and watch interesting television and bakes apple pies. And so she saw on like Sunday morning this book that came out, How to Lead by David Rubenstein, the one of the I think he co-founded Carlyle Group. And it's a book basically like summarizing some of the greatest leaders of our lifetime. So it's got like Steve Jobs, Phil Knight, like obviously just like huge names. And she told me about this book that she's like, this book is coming out. It sounds so incredible. Like you must read this book because she like knows my soul. And so I ordered her a copy and I was like, I'll send you a copy. You read it first. And then when you're done, I'll read it. And she took the time to read. It's like 450 pages. She read this whole book, highlighted it for me, scribbled in little notes of how she thought it would apply to my life and what parts she loved, and sent it to me. And it is like my like most valued possession right now. So
Aw.
that's on my list of books to read this January.
Wow. What a cute story.
Yeah.
That's so great that you and your grandma bond over books. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever read the book Becoming Supernatural by Joe Dispenza?
No, I feel like
Have you
we
heard?
are like our like Venn diagram of books we've both read is like we've read so many like on the other side. So what is it
Have
called?
you
Becoming.
It's called Becoming Supernatural by Dr. Joe Dispenza. It's a book about health, but more conscious health and how we're able to upregulate our DNA and our proteins and our genes to help fight cancer and Parkinson's and heart disease and things. It's a
Wow.
lot of science. It's a lot of
Yeah.
science, and it's about meditation and our brain waves and chakras and things like
Yeah.
that.
Oh, I love that.
Have you
Um,
ever read The 5 a.m. Club by Robin Sharma?
it's on my list. It's funny, like
Oh my gosh.
I'll find these books on Instagram, which is great, and then I'll be
Yes.
like, oh, I gotta put that on my like TBR list, my to be read.
Yeah.
whatever you say. And then, so that one's on it. One that recently came off of the TBR list and I did read it and it's changing my life is, and I messaged you about this, is the 10X Rule by Grant Cardone.
Yep.
I just discovered, like, I knew, so I work in real estate, like, as my day job. So I, like, knew who Grant Cardone was and, like, his group, but I didn't, like, know Grant Cardone. You know, like, I didn't know Uncle G. And I, like, fell in deep. Like, I am obsessed with 10X Rule, and I'm so grateful I read it in December because that's when I always make my goals for the new year. And I'm a big goal person.
10x every single one of those goals.
10X every single one. And
10x
it's funny,
goals
I'm
to
looking at
10x
these
your
goals.
action. Yeah.
Exactly. And I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to get there. And I love that. And that's what he says. He says, say yes. Say, don't even say, I don't know. Can you do it? Yeah, I'll figure it out. And
Right.
that's a winner's mindset, you know?
Yeah. You know what? Honestly, I was a huge Grant Cardone fan a couple years ago, and he is really smart and he's really good at making money in real estate. He is just so aggressive.
Yeah.
Which I like the aggressiveness, especially with the 10x rule. He's just so aggressive. But great guy. But
Yeah.
Robin Sharma though, do you know who Robin Sharma is?
I don't know too much, no.
Okay, he wrote The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari. Have you heard of that?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, yeah. Dude, oh my god, life changing. Anyway, a quick story about Robin Sharma because you have your story with your grandma. I wanted to tell you my story about Robin Sharma.
Yes.
So for a year, every single morning I would wake up and I would DM HarperCollins and I would DM Penguin Random House and I would DM all these publishing houses and say, hey, I do book reviews. And it was kind of a lie at the time. I hope no one from HarperCollins is listening, but it was kind of a lie at the time. And I was like, hey, I review books on Instagram. If you send me some books, I'll, post about them and tag you guys. And for like 3 months straight, I was getting free books, free brand new hardcover books in the mail every single day. I was like a kid in the freaking candy store. It was Christmas every single day. And they sent me such incredible books. So I was like, okay, let me take this a step further. So I started DMing a bunch of authors. And I'm like, hey, and I reached out to Robin Sharma. I wasn't even really a fan, didn't know much about him and his style of writing. I heard he was a pretty good author on spirituality and happiness. And he DM'd me back and he's like, Zach, what's your address? And I was like, this is my address. And 5 days later, this book comes in the mail. It's called The 5 a.m. Club. Never heard about it in my life. This was probably 2-3 years ago, maybe.
Oh my
Same
gosh.
book. I opened the front cover. He wrote a personalized letter to me.
Wow.
I know. I wrote a
my
personalized
God.
letter to me. I was like, wow, that is really special. And I read the book and it changed my life. It's not just about waking up at 5 a.m. And I already know you wake up super early, and mazel tov to you. It's a great way to start the day. But I read the book. It changed my life. And then I read his next book, which was The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari, which is even better than 5 a.m. Club. So for the past 3 years, I've been promoting, and not because he sent me the book, genuinely because I just love his writing. I've been telling every single person and any person I meet about how incredible these books are. And I've probably gotten over 50 people to buy these books. So the time he took, yeah, to send me the book, I've definitely paid it back to him. But
that is so cool. I
yeah,
love
and now
that.
I'm reading a lot of biographies. Like I'm reading Leonardo da Vinci's biography. I'm reading Albert Einstein's biography, and I'm about to get into Elon Musk's biography because I'm a huge.
Oh my
Elon
gosh.
Musk
I read
fan.
that. I love
You read
that book.
Elon Musk's
Yeah,
biography?
I was literally just talking about that book yesterday because, now that he's number one, highest wealth in the world. And then, so I read that book in, I think 2016 or 2017. And I remember like thinking, okay, so I'm actually from just down the street of where SpaceX is in Hawthorne.
Oh wow,
Yeah. So
that's cool.
I know, you know what I mean? Like I've seen it so many times, which is just wild. But, so obviously, like he splits his time between SpaceX and Tesla, and this is like before him saying he's going to move to Texas and all these things. But he would, when he went up to the Bay Area to Tesla, I want to say it was Larry Page. It may be somebody else, but it was like a Google. He would literally sleep on their couch, like, and I just, you're like, I'm still blown away by this. that the richest man in the world would sleep on somebody's couch 3 nights a week. I mean, I'm sure it's like a really nice couch, but you know?
Yeah. Wow. Elon. All hail Elon. He is the
Yeah,
GOAT.
he is the
Wow.
goat.
Okay, so I bought Untamed. I'm excited to read Elon Musk's biography now. Right now, I'm reading Brian Weiss, Many Masters. Have you heard of Brian Weiss?
No.
He does a lot. He talks to dead people, and I don't know if you're
Oh,
into that.
that's
And a lot of people are. When I bring it up, people think I'm crazy. It's about past life regression and who we were in our past lives. Um,
that's very
it,
cool.
he's kind of like a psychic medium mixed with like talking to spirits and stuff,
Yeah,
but all all stuff that gets you to think. Okay,
totally.
so I do a monthly book club, and
I love that.
yeah, I do a monthly book club. The most recent book was Think and Grow Rich, which obviously
A
you've probably
classic.
read by Napoleon Hill. But the other book we did in the book club was Essentialism by Greg McKeown. Have you heard of that book?
I've heard of it, but I haven't read that.
Non-negotiable. Okay, no, this book actually no, I don't want to hype it up that much because the other books I said non-negotiable as far as The Untethered Soul
Oh yeah, I think
and
we've got
Friday
7 on the list now.
yeah, those are really non-negotiables. This book, Essentialism, is it's not necessarily non-negotiable, but it's changed my life the most in the shortest amount of time.
Yeah,
And it's the type of book because at the end of the day, when we read, it's not so much the content that we're trying to learn; it's more the concept. And for example,
right.
how to win friends and influence people. Okay, that book, it's a great book. Dale Carnegie is a great writer, very simple, love to read it. But you could literally just read the table of contents and apply that to your life, and it'll be worth your time.
I was just gonna say the same. Like that book to me is like a 1-page PDF and you're good to go.
Exactly. Well said. Well freaking said. So essentialism is kind of the same way, but I feel like the principle is so valuable to everyone's life. It's all about things either being essential or non-essential. And I'm not going to get too deep into it because I'm probably terrible at explaining it, but that is a really, really good book. I'm looking back over my books too about any others. Have you read Flow?
Yeah, by like Cheek Semi High.
Yeah, is it good?
Yeah. Well, oh, so actually, it's interesting that you bring that book up because right now I'm reading Deep Work by Cal Newport.
I haven't heard of it. Is it
Okay.
good?
Yeah. So you know how like in 2021, like millennial life, like everyone is just we're constantly connected. We're always like a ping away, and we're just distracted. Like we live in this constant state of, and even now, like I'll do work and I'll either have like an audiobook on while I'm working, or a podcast, or music, or you know what I mean. So like I'm always like doing a lot of things at once, and honestly probably not doing any of them really well. So this book
Hmm.
is about essentially the value of and learning how to practice deep work, which is focusing on a single task with no distraction for an extended period of time. That's all it is. But really, like how often do we do that, you know? And that's real, and the point, the value of deep work all comes from flow.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Flow. It's like the mixture of enjoying something and something else, but I'm
Yeah, you
really
lose
looking for
track of time. I
yeah.
get it probably the easiest either when I'm like working out to me is like the easiest flow that I'll get into. Like, you know, sometimes let's say you're going to run 5 miles and sometimes you feel every freaking mile, you know, every step you're just like, no, I hate this. No, I don't want to do this. No. And other times you're just like thriving. You're like in the zone with your music. Like you are just pounding your chest, like, give me more, give me more. And then you check your watch and you're at like 4.9 miles already. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that's flow.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, so I have that on my list too, so I'm looking forward to reading that.
One book I
But
read that
wow.
also totally changed my life last year, and I'm still mind blown by it, is Why We Sleep. Is it by Michael Walker? Have you read this book or heard of it?
I faintly remember I don't think I've read it, but I can't remember what I
Okay.
did, but I know exactly what book you're talking about.
Yeah, so it just totally changed my life because okay, and it's funny, I think I read it pretty close to when I read The 10X Rule by Grant Cardone. And there's like these two camps of people, right? And especially in America, we're such a like work hard, like sacrifice everything to make your dreams come true type of place. Like people do not care about sleep in the US. Like other places love sleep,
We
have
don't value
siestas.
sleep at all.
Yeah. And they
Yeah.
pride that, like Elon Musk doesn't sleep. And he's just like, "Oh, I'm fine with not sleeping." No, dude, you're not fine with not sleeping.
Yeah.
Like that's,
Right.
first of all, you're destroying your health. And second of all, you're losing out on like locking in these memories and building these like bridges in your brain of what you understand. Like that book, just my like adoration for sleep is transformed. It's a
Yeah.
must
I
read.
think in Atomic Habits, James Clear talks about how if you don't get enough sleep, your blood alcohol content is similar to like is that in Atomic Habits, or maybe it's in a different book about how if you don't, oh no, it's in Essentialism. Huh. Funny. It's in Essentialism
Oh,
actually. Yeah, if you don't get enough sleep, you actually are not as focused and not your motor skills aren't as sharp, and it ends up being like the same as being up like a 0.03 blood alcohol content or something.
got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
But
well,
wow.
actually, so that book is so I've been like, I'll call it agnostic to drinking for pretty much my whole life. Like I never drank before I was like, a like freshly turned 21-year-old. That's just my personality. And then I just like did it with my friends, but I never like loved it. And I read this book. Oh, I read two. This one and Quit Like a Woman. Something like How to Stop Drinking in a Culture That's Obsessed with Alcohol or something like that. Because especially in the Midwest, alcohol is like all people do. And anyways, in Why We Sleep, I mean, alcohol just destroys your sleep and your ability to
Yeah.
get good sleep and to lock in those memories. I mean, it is truly a memory eraser. And I'm like, oh, I don't want to do that. I mean, we know it's a memory eraser, right? You wake up the next morning and you're like, what happened?
That is so true. Well, can I ask you a question? Do you have you posted your book list for 2021 on social media or anything?
So I don't have like a book list that I make. Some people have like their concrete list, and I kind of just go with the flow.
Yeah.
So
I
now, like
make
these 7 books, they're on the list, and I'm
yeah,
gonna
like
read them like all in a month or two.
yeah, oh, trust me, you won't regret it. I make a list every year of my books, and I end up not sticking to the exact list, but I like just kind of knowing up front. I actually have my list, and I have all of the books on my list, and they're on my kitchen counter, and I look at them every single day. Um,
I love that.
yeah,
Yeah,
but all right,
I like that you
Shayla,
do that. Like, I think I should. I want to try that. I'm gonna make a list of like, I don't know, maybe 25 that I really want to make sure I read this year. I guess the
yeah,
thing with me is like, it takes me a day to read a book. So if I want to read a book, I just read it. You know what I mean?
right. Just pick it up. No motion, all action.
Exactly.
Well, Shayla, I really, really appreciate you taking the time to come on the podcast. This was an incredible conversation.
It was so
And
much fun.
to all of the people listening right now, go ahead and follow Shayla on Instagram at Shayla McMurray,
Yeah, so actually my
SHAYLA
my
Oh,
Instagram is, yeah, so you can follow me on Instagram at SoFinePrint,
yeah,
SoFinePrint.
that's the right one.
Yeah.
So fine print. Shayla, thank you so much for coming today.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. And I will say, like, I think that there's really two types of people, right? People who already get it and read all the time, and people who maybe they've had a book that they read that they really enjoyed, but it's just never been something that has like, they haven't had the experience you and I have had where we see the book changing our life. And I would just say, like, it's okay if you don't become obsessed with reading, but at the same time, challenge yourself to read one of the books that we've talked about and be open to it changing the way you live. You know, if you're open to it and you go in reading that book, wondering how am I going to grow from this, you're going to find something that's worth more than money could ever buy you. So
Mm-hmm.
I just hope that more people read all the
Well, you're doing a great job at that.
time. I hope so.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Shayla, and let's definitely connect soon.
Definitely. Thanks again for having me on. This was great.